Low carb, no carb, carbs. Are they good? Are they bad? Should you eat carbs when you're trying to lose weight or not? You've been told to go low carb and that the carbs are the bad guy. Or maybe you did diet without carbs for a while and maybe you lost weight, but then when you got back to your real life, you gained the weight back and now you just don't know. You feel like you have this crazy relationship with carbs that you cannot figure out. Do you love carbs? Do they love you back? What kind of a relationship is this? Are carbs the good guy or the bad guy? Someone? Anyone? Please, someone answer this question. Don't worry, I got you. Today, we're going to talk about carbs and weight loss. And by the end of this video, you'll have all the answers that you've been looking for, whether carbs are good, whether you should eat them when you're trying to lose weight, and if you are eating them, how to eat them. So I'll help you understand carbs and what they are. I'll help you learn how to eat carbs for weight loss, and I'll help you understand how to lose weight without losing your mind. What? Me? Who am I? Great question. Hi, you must be new here. I'm Lex Vuko. I have been in health and fitness industry for over 20 years now. I've struggled with weight gain a couple times in my life. I've trained in amateur kickboxing, boxing, and bodybuilding, and everything I've learned, I've used on myself and now helped hundreds of women lose weight and stay in shape in a holistic way. And everything I teach them, I present to you here on this channel. So make sure to hit that subscribe button to get notified when the new video comes out, because this next series are all about holistic weight loss. Let's get right into it to understand carbs. So what foods are carbohydrates? Well, all veggies are carbs. All fruits are carbs. So if you look at proteins, carbs, and fats, the majority of your food should be actually coming from carbs. Now, what are the good carbs versus bad carbs? Generally, when we're talking about carbs, people are thinking of bread and pasta and starchy carbs and pastry, anything made with white flour. And that's considered a bad carb because of the way it affects our body. It has a high glycemic index, which means it spikes our insulin drastically and then crashes us, which really matters when it comes to weight loss because we gain weight because of the insulin spikes. Because when the insulin is high, our body understands that as a signal to store body fat. And also things made with white flour are also low in fiber, low in water, and therefore create more of the food cravings in us. They also typically have a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of fat added to them, which makes us into food addicts. So when we're thinking of bad carbs, the ones that are making us age faster, the ones that are making us gain weight, we're thinking of pretty much anything made with white flour. So think whites. What are the good carbs? Well, the good carbs are the ones that have nutritional value, bring vitamins and minerals to our body, have high fiber so they make us feel full and satiated longer, and are full of water. Think pepper, cucumber, right? Like, can you eat 10 cucumbers? It's really hard to do so. Now, there are veggies that are not so great, which is what we call starchy carbs, things like potato. Again, if you think of potato, even the texture is more like that bread pasta thingy, right? And it's also spiking our insulin. Now, fruits are kind of like veggies with sugar. So they got the nutrients, they have the fiber, they're full of water, you can hardly overeat it, but it does have sugar. However, because of the fiber content, we absorb that sugar easier. And there are more sugary fruits that are going to spike your insulin more and some that are spiking it less. The ones that are always good to eat are berries, generally blueberries, mulberries, goji berries, raspberries, and so on. If you're more interested in insulin and glycemic index, I do encourage you to learn the relation between food at that. You can even track your blood glucose for, let's say, a week or two, which will give you a fantastic information on how each food affects you, if you want to go that route. So what are the good carbs then? Okay, so we mentioned veggies that are full of water and fiber. We're talking about fruits such as berries, although I generally don't discriminate between the fruits because I love fruit. But if you're looking at grains, look for things that are also not spiking up your insulin. They taste good, and you can slowly substitute to, such as teff, quinoa, millet, buckwheat. And these foods don't spike your insulin drastically. The reason why they're called good carbs is because they are slowly and gradually rising your insulin levels and slowly and gradually bringing it down. So I want to hear from you. What is your favorite carb? What is that one thing that you feel like if you never had it again, you would be miserable? Let me know in the comment below. I want to hear from you. Okay, let's get into how to eat for weight loss. Well, think about, again, avoiding to eat carbs on their own, because depending on what we eat carbs with, they're going to spike our insulin more or less. So when you sit at a restaurant, the first thing you get is bread. It's really not a good idea to start off a meal with just bread. You always want to have a mix. If you look at any culture around the world, what do they eat? They generally have a mix, like beans and rice, okay? It's not just rice. Sushi, it's got rice, but it's got other things in there too. By the way, rice from sushi has vinegar added to them, which makes it way lower on the glycemic index. So carbs really matter as to what we eat them with. We always want to mix it with something that's full of fiber. But the biggest thing here when it comes to weight loss is you should never feel restricted or deprived, or that the diet told you you can never eat that. Because the moment you do that, you feel restricted, you feel deprived, you feel like that's the forbidden fruit that you really, really, really want. When you feel like that, when you feel deprived, you will want more and more of that food. And we all know that feeling, right? Like you don't want to eat it, and all of a sudden you just ate too much of it. So whatever you're approaching when it comes to weight loss, I know that the diet culture taught you to start the diet on this particular day. Don't do that. Take a carb that you're eating and find a substitute. So let's say it's bread for you. Let's say you absolutely love eating bread. Well, how about trying to make it at home, or buying gluten-free sourdough bread, or making it from almond flour, garbanzo bean flour, or any other flour for that matter. They're high in fiber, and it doesn't generally create food cravings in our body. And as you see, even that is going to take you time to find the right thing, to find what actually fits you. Because if I tell you now, go to almond flour and you try it and you absolutely grossed out by it, it's not going to work no matter how amazing almond flour may be for you. So never approach weight loss from the dieting perspective of having to follow these strict rules, but rather see as, okay, you know what? I love eating a burger. How could I maybe make it at home or find a healthier version of it and still actually enjoy it? Which leads me into this whole low carb, no carb diet. Again, if you approach it as a diet, you're approaching it as starting point and ending point. And that just doesn't work. It will never work. So does low carb diet work? Well, while you're dieting, while you're not eating carbs, you are going to lose weight. But we're not looking at that quick weight loss that's going to make you gain even more afterwards. We're looking at how can you do this long term. This is why I don't recommend low carb or no carb diets unless you've taken stuff before that to change your relationship with food, to change your relationship with yourself, to switch off that food addiction in you and to switch up the ingredients, and then maybe lowering these carbs to try out and see how your body does without them. So you always want to think, what is my long-term approach? The best diet is the one you can do for life. I want you to think of a diet as your nutrition, as what you're eating, not this is for limited time only, because that's really the point here. The point is that you can do this long term, that you can change your taste buds, that you get away from food addiction, and that you're more aware of your body and focus on your health. Because when you do that, the weight comes off. Because think about the limited time only diet. Think about that logic, if we can even call it that. Well, I'm going to diet. So I'm going to get to my goal through this diet, and then I'm going to go back to doing the exact same things that got me in this predicament in the first place, right? Like we can't think like that. But here's what happens. People think that the foods that they're currently eating, if they don't eat them, they're going to feel so deprived, right? If you're eating processed foods all the time and you're like, oh no, today I'm starting to eat my veggies and protein and I'm not doing my pizza, I'm not doing my pastries, you would feel miserable. But what if you slowly switch things over time? Think about this, and this is what I teach my clients. If you make one small change every week, small change, key is small, in a 3-month period, you made 10 to 12 changes. Could we both agree that if you made 10 to 12 changes that you can be consistent with, that would make all the difference? In 6 months, that's 20 to 24 changes. Can you make small, consistent changes each week? Because in 3 to 6 months, you made so many changes that are going to last you a lifetime, and you never have to worry about calories or weight gain or weight loss or diet again. By doing this slowly, you're also changing your taste buds. And when you change your taste buds, you enjoy the food more. Another thing you want to do besides trying to lose weight is fixing your gut health. We have gut bacteria, and that bacteria determines how we're going to quite literally think and feel. And so when you're used to processed foods that's full of processed sugar, that's what that bacteria wants more of, and it makes you a food addict. But that bacteria really thrives off of fiber from real foods such as chia seeds, fiber from veggies and fruits, fiber from grains. White flour doesn't have fiber. It's taken out. And please don't go to the store and buy separate fiber, because that's really like pieces of wood, and we can do better than that. You can get a prebiotic to feed your healthy gut bacteria while you're switching to more real food. I have a particular prebiotic that I love that I've been using for a while. If that interests you, I'll leave the link in the description. The next thing I want to get to is how to lose weight without losing your mind. But before we get there, you're still here, which means you're getting some value out of this video. And I would so appreciate if you would subscribe, hit that like, and even share this video with someone who's been known to diet all the time, because this may be the video they need to hear. Okay, how to lose weight without losing your mind with this whole carb deal. And again, what I teach here is the same thing I teach my clients. This has to be a very individualized approach. So again, I know the diet culture has told us, this is a diet plan, this is a meal plan, this is how you should do it. I want you to slowly change things to fit into your lifestyle rather than trying to change your whole lifestyle at once. Please. If you take anything out of this video, if you just take that, fitting things into your lifestyle rather than changing your whole lifestyle to fit a diet. And through that process, you will learn about your body and how your body reacts to certain foods. And you will start paying attention. Oh, when I eat that, I get really tired. I don't like that feeling. And you're going to start connecting the food to the feeling, which gives you so much power, because you won't eat anymore just because your eyes are hungry. You'll eat because of how it's going to make you feel long term. When you do that, you're on a very good path to self-acceptance and self-love, because you're treating yourself with love. You're taking care of the future you. And with that said, that's how we get away from food addiction. Remember, these companies make things that have fats, carbs, sugars, and just a bit of salt. So when our taste buds taste that, we lose our mind and we become food addicts. And I promise you, your taste buds will change. The foods that you think you're loving right now, you can enjoy healthy version of that just as much. But it's worth it, because these companies want you to be a lifetime customer, and you lose control in the process. And then you get to yo-yo dieting and you feel like your whole world revolves around food. Where when you switch things up, the weight comes off, you feel better about yourself, and you still fully enjoy every bite. We're meant to enjoy food. And this is why starting a diet today, eating foods that taste like cardboard to you right now, ain't gonna work. Also be aware of GMO, genetically modified foods. Most of the corn and most of the soy in the United States is genetically modified, and it affects us differently. Look up Dr. Amen, who talked about a patient that came to him that was suicidal and said, Dr. Amen, you are my last resort. If you can't help me, I'm done. So Dr. Amen puts him on an elimination diet. He says, no sugar, no corn, no gluten, no dairy, and no soy. And the man goes, that's all I eat, pretty much. But he was feeling like he was at the end, so he was willing to give it a try. He gave Dr. Amen a call about 2 weeks later and said, I have never felt this good in my life. Dr. Amen said, okay, now we're going to introduce one thing of these 5 back into your nutrition and see how you feel. He introduced like gluten, nothing happened. He introduced sugar, nothing happened. He started eating corn. He said, within 15 minutes of eating corn, I visualized myself putting a gun into my mouth. You can look this up. Dr. Amen is a brain researcher. He does brain scans. He's been doing this for over 30 years now. GMO affects us. Foods affect us. And if you don't know how each food affects you, you can be feeling depressed and anxious and not know that it's something that you're eating. I also want to address this really silly saying that I've heard, especially in the fitness industry. If it tastes good, spit it out. Or if it makes you happy, don't eat it. That is such a damaging statement that I could probably make a whole video about it. But what's wrong about this approach is that it's teaching you that there's yummy food, which I should not be eating, and then there's the boring, healthy food, which my mama told me I should eat. How about both? How about making healthy food yummy? The reason why sugary and processed food tastes good to us is because of how these food companies and their food scientists and behavioral scientists have determined how it affects our taste buds and what message our brain gets in that moment and how to become addicted to that food. If you ever hear any of the versions of that statement, please understand that healthy food can taste good. I eat sweets all the time. When I was losing weight, I was still eating sweets. It's the kind of sweets that I was making. I was using things like local honey, real monk fruit, dates. I was using those things to satisfy my sweet tooth. By the way, look up my recipe book if you're interested. I'll leave the links in the description. All my recipes are easy to make. I love using things like a food processor, and it's got a lot of desserts, I'll tell you that. But what's important here to mention is, again, if you feel restricted or deprived, it won't work. And that is why you want to find a healthy version of the food you're eating. And you also want to be present. Practice mindfulness when you're eating. If you wait till you're starving, you're just going to go ahead and inhale that food without stopping to enjoy it. If you take your time, make a plate for yourself, think about every single flavor that you're tasting, you're already winning. That's all you got to do, because that's going to slow down your eating. You're going to eat less. You're going to be present and enjoy your food. I cannot even tell you how many clients I've had that I teach this whole don't be restricted or deprived rule. And I tell them, if you feel like eating a cheesecake, go ahead and have it, but be present. And every single one of them did that and said, you know what? I took a piece, I took a bite, and I was done. That's all I needed. Because that's what happens when we're present. We're not eating out of guilt and shame and emotions. Which, by the way, you do need to know about the secondary hunger system. Whenever we think about food, talk about food, or smell food, we get hungry and we want to eat. But just because I feel like I want to eat that dessert doesn't even mean I need the whole thing. But we don't want to throw the food away because we've already ordered it. Or if we're not present, we're just trying to eat out of guilt and shame. And when we feel guilt and shame over our food choices, what happens is we activate the reward center in our brain, meaning we have a need to reward ourselves. And how do we reward ourselves? With that sugar, because that sugar gives us the high. So if you're not paying attention to your guilt and shame, you take a bite, you feel guilt and shame, you need to take another bite to reward yourself, and it becomes this catch-22. But when you're present and you eliminate guilt and shame and you eat to enjoy, you have a bite or two and you're done. So if you do this slowly and you make one change at a time, your taste buds will change too. And when you used to enjoy, you won't necessarily enjoy that version of it anymore, but you have your healthier version that serves your body waiting for you. And this is why diets don't work. This is why you have to go with small, consistent changes. And also, if you do want to try going no carb or low carb, don't ever cut them all at once. Slowly switch to the healthier ones. It's going to take you time to figure it out. And again, over time, when you've switched to it and you don't have food addiction anymore, if at that point you want to lower your carbs and see how your body feels, then go ahead and do that. But while you're addicted to that food, it's nearly impossible to cut it down cold turkey. And now that we covered carbs, let's talk about some other mistakes or errors that I see women frequently make when it comes to weight loss. And for that, I have a whole separate video that you can watch in this playlist or click here.